Hey guys, how are you all doing? This is the MMA breakdown with my predictions for the Ultimate Fighter 20 finale. Champion will be crowned, and I think it's just excessive to have a separate event for this, especially with all of the women who didn't make it to far in the show to the semifinals. I'm not looking forward to all of these prelim fights. But the Jeremy Stevens Charles Oliveira fight, that is very good. That's high quality, and that's a great fight. And obviously the two women who will be fighting for the belt. Looking forward to that, but I wish they would have just thrown that on a Fox card, the Fox card the next day or something. I think this is really excessive, especially this time of year. Around the holidays with coming off 181 and having Jones Cormier coming up, New Year's, sandwiching all of these mediocre, low profile events in between. I don't like it, and the Brazil card looks horrible, so I'm not a fan of these two events, or these two events in 1 week and a separate event just for this. And really not looking forward to the prelim fights. I know these are the strawweights, a new division, and these are probably the best women in the world at that weight class right now. But to me, it just feels like flyweight, where you have just a couple guys who can compete right at the top of the division, and everyone else is just below them fighting each other, and is never really going to make their way up to the top to contend with the elite guys. An example would be like what we just saw a couple weeks ago, Dustin Ortiz and Joseph Benavidez. Ortiz, a real solid fighter, worked his way up through some mid-tier guys, but just couldn't, isn't going to get past Joseph Benavidez, and if he can't do that, can't get to the champion. So I really think we're going to see that stratification in this division as well. But let's get right to the predictions. And a lot of these women, especially the women who lost early in the show, I don't really recall much about their fights. So my analysis is not going to be very deep here. I'll just say that up front. But I'm still going to make picks. And and we got a couple of actual UFC fights at the top of the card. And then what I'll do for the finale fight, since they haven't been, this is Sunday, and we won't know till Wednesday, I'll make a separate video, give my quick predictions for that, if you care to see that, and I'll link it to this video. But at women's strawweight, Emily Kagan versus Angela Hill. Emily Kagan lost to Joanne Calderwood by majority draw. And Angela Hill lost to Carla Esparza, got dominated. Esparza was just able to impose her wrestling, take her down, and got that rear naked choke very easily. And I don't remember much about the Kagan-Calderwood fight. I just think I remember Calderwood, looking like the winner in that one, but I don't remember much about that. I got to be honest, I don't know who to take here. I really don't know. I have no idea. I'll just go with Kagan because of the way Angela Hill got dominated. Even though Carla Esparza, I think, is probably one of the best girls in the house. Joanne Calderwood, was everyone really praises her as well. So and Kagan was able to go the distance with her. So I don't know. I'll go with Kagan just based on how they competed in their preliminary fights. Next up, Aisling Daly versus Alex Chambers. Aisling Daly, Irish fighter, trains with Conor McGregor, and she actually impressed me. I thought she was going to be, her unorthodox style seems a little gimmicky, but was really effective. She was able to out-grapple Angela Magana and was able to finish her in the third round. And even against Jessica Penne, I actually thought she won that fight against Penne. But the decision went to Penne. Kind of faded late, but really has that awkward footwork on the feet. Is able to confuse her opponents. She's kind of hard to hit, and pretty scrappy grappler. So I think Daly is a good fighter. And Alex Chambers, she lost to let's see here, Rose Namajunas in her preliminary fight. I believe she got subbed with I want to say, I think it was a rear naked choke. Might have been I honestly can't remember, but Namajunas dominated her in that fight. Namajunas has an unorthodox stand up and really dominated her, but I have to go with Daly. I thought she competed really well in both her fights, and I thought she should have gotten the decision over Penne. So I'll go with Daly to win this fight. Next up, Beck Rawlings versus Heather Clark. Beck Rawlings, I actually thought her fight against Tisha Torres, I thought that should have gone to a third round. I definitely gave her one of the rounds in there. I can't remember too much about her striking style or what she did well in that fight, but I do remember thinking she definitely won a round against Torres. And Heather Clark, on the other hand, she just didn't seem like a very high-level fighter to me. Felice Herrig was able to out-wrestle her, get her in some bad positions, never really had her in trouble, but out-wrestled her pretty convincingly. And Rawlings, I think, fought the better fighter in Torres and competed better, so I have to go with Beck Rawlings. Joanne Calderwood versus Seo Hee Ham, South Korean fighter that I do not know anything about, so I'm not going to make a pick here, but Calderwood, another good fighter on the show. She beat Emily Kagan, like we already talked about, and then lost to Rose Namajunas in the second fight. Got submitted. But Rose, I think, is really head and shoulders kind of better than everyone on the show. I do expect her to win the belt. But Calderwood seems like just a tough striker. Throws a high volume. And like I said, I can't make a pick here, but Calderwood is a good fighter, and we're going to move on. Tisha Torres versus Angela Magana. I'll go Tisha Torres. Magana got out-grappled by Aisling Daly. Torres, good striker. I thought she came real close to winning that fight against Randa Marcos, and Marcos just got a few key takedowns to seal the deal in that fight. But honestly, Torres, for as much hype as she had around her, I mean, I didn't know anything about these women, but going into the show, I heard other people, bring up Torres' name a lot. I don't think her striking is that effective. Even against Carla Esparza, who out-wrestled her, she couldn't get much done on the feet. Against Beck Rawlings, I thought Rawlings won one of those rounds, and Torres seems like she's really tries to force something to happen on the feet. She throws a lot, but just doesn't seem to land a lot of her punches, and I don't know, I just don't think she's that effective. But Magana, I don't think was very impressive against Daly. Got finished, and I got to go with Torres to win this fight. Next up, Felice Herrig versus Lisa Ellis. Lisa Ellis got finished by Jessica Penne in her fight, got submitted, and Felice Herrig was able to out-wrestle and out-grapple Heather Clark, and then in the next round lost to Marcos in very impressive fashion for Marcos. Threw her on her head and locked up that arm in a crucifix position, and Herrig had a tap immediately. And Marcos, I think, is really underrated. But Lisa Ellis got out grappled by Penne. Herrig really likes to go to that wrestling, so I'm going to go with Herrig. Next up, a lightweight Joe Proctor versus Yancy Medeiros. Joe Proctor, a tough 15 veteran. Yancy Medeiros has had a couple fights in the UFC. Knocked out Yves Edwards, which was pretty impressive, although Yves Edwards, just retired and has really just kind of fallen apart these last couple of years. And lost to Jim Miller, which, that there's no shame in that at all. That doesn't set him back. But Joe Proctor, he's been on a little win streak, but really hasn't beaten anyone any good. Other tough veterans, literally, Jeremy Larson, Cristiano Marcelo, two tough veterans, lost to Ramsey Nijam in between there, and then knocked out Justin Salas in his last fight. Joe Proctor on the show, they billed him as a jiu-jitsu guy, won a fight by submission against Chris Tickle, who's out of Lozon's gym, and since coming to the UFC has really just fallen in love really with the striking and is just content to stand and trade, doesn't look to mix in his wrestling or grappling at all, and really not that great of a striker. Against Marcelo, he was pretty patient. And then against Salas, really didn't do anything and just kind of holds back and waits for his moment to attack, and was able to get the knockout there. But I think against a more active and more skilled fighter, he's not going to be able to hang on the feet exactly what Medeiros is. So Medeiros gets to work immediately. Likes to make it a brawl. And against Damon Jackson in his last fight, really just poured it on him on the feet and ended up winning with a modified guillotine choke. I don't think Proctor is a good enough striker for to hang with Medeiros. I think he's going to get hurt. He's been dropped before. Ramsey Nijam was able to drop him. I think Medeiros is just too aggressive and too powerful on the feet for Proctor. I think Proctor's best chance here would be to try to use his wrestling and grappling. Next up, a lightweight KJ Noons versus Darren Cruickshank. This should be a fun fight, an interesting fight, but not terribly relevant. Cruickshank is a decent, just kind of a not even really mid-level talent, but just a step up above those guys who are fighting on the prelims, and a lot of these guys making their debuts. Cruickshank, a tough veteran from Tough 15 as well, and has got some really impressive knockouts. Was beating up a bunch of scrubs, other washouts from Tough, Mike Rio, Henry Martinez, who got cut after that loss. I thought he was really set to transcend to that next level after he knocked out Eric Koch, beating a real established guy. But then against Masvidal, who he did knock down in the early round, I think really just showed his ceiling. He's not going to be able to deal with those guys who can wrestle and also who can push the pace on the feet. After that knockdown in the first round, Cruickshank just had nothing for Masvidal. And then won his last fight against Anthony Njokuani. Was able to use his wrestling, which is fairly impressive. And you know what? Just in the middle of my analysis, I'm gonna take what I said back. Cruickshank is a mid-level talent. He's beaten some decent guys like Njokuani, but I just think he's not gonna get much better. Because he just doesn't have the wrestling, and he doesn't have the kind of striking where he can strike over the course of 3 rounds against another skilled striker to win a decision if he doesn't get that knockout. But, for the purposes of this fight, I think Cruickshank is probably going to have a big stand-up advantage. KJ Noons, hard to put out. I remember his fight against Nick Diaz in Strikeforce, the second fight. I watched that, and that was a really back-and-forth fight, pretty razor-thin. What you saw when he fought the higher-level guys like Cerrone in the UFC, he just has nothing for him. Had a really impressive knockout over Sam Stout in his last fight, but who knows, how much that was just Sam Stout being done as a UFC fighter. And even when he fought George Soteropoulos, wasn't able to do much to him. So I think Nunes doesn't really have much to offer. And Cruickshank, with all of his unorthodox kicks and how he sets up the head kick, his Taekwondo style striking, I think he's going to be able to get the job done here. I wouldn't count on a knockout, though. I think it'll probably go to decision because Nunes is just, no one's been able to put him out. So I'll go with Cruickshank. And then Jeremy Stephens, featherweight fight, Jeremy Stephens versus Charles Oliveira. This is a great matchup. I'm really excited for this fight. And it's really interesting as well. Oliveira, I always viewed this guy as kind of been that new breed guy, had good striking with a real crafty jiu-jitsu game, a real submission wizard, and still very relevant. I still have the feeling he's getting better, but got pasted by Cub Swanson. Couldn't deal with the power. We saw when he fought Cerrone, couldn't deal with that the power and the striking. Just kind of got ran over in those fights. But then against Frankie Edgar, is able to hang around for 3 rounds and give Edgar a real competitive fight on the feet. But Edgar does not have the power that Swanson or Stephens has. Even the Swanson-Stephens fight, before that, Swanson was just tearing through guys. He was on a knockout streak, and Stephens really made him, hold back and fight a lot more conservatively. Stephens made him respect his power. Stephens, since dropping to featherweight, has been real great. I think he was really kind of losing it at lightweight before he dropped down. He got knocked out by Yves Edwards. And then going down to featherweight, has had some real nice performances. The head kick knockout of Honey Jason, and then his fight against Darren Elkins really dominated him on the feet, but never quite going the next level to get the finish. And then his last fight competed really well with Cub Swanson, just didn't quite do enough to win some of those rounds. Oliveira's good striking as well, and a very good submission game. The way he was able to, he got his back taken by Hioki, but was able to come back from that, and he loves that anaconda grip on his guillotine, and is real effective with it. And I think his best chance would try to be to drag down Jeremy Stephens to the ground, but I just don't think Oliveira will be able to deal with Stephens' power. He suffered those knockouts to Cub Swanson, and Donald Cerrone earlier in his career, and I think Stephens just has that big power. He's going to be able to do something similar, because Stephens can coast a little bit like he did against Elkins when he's really dominating the fight. I think he might outstrike Oliveira for a couple rounds, and I think I'm expecting a late knockout for Stephens, so that's what I would go with here. I'm taking Stephens, I think, by a 3rd round knockout, so... But, Oliveira is real good as well, and if he can get this to the ground, that's, Stephens struggled there early in his career. I mean, even Marcus Davis was able to out-wrestle him and got submitted by Rafael almost got submitted by Rafael dos Anjos way back in the day. But, I gotta go with Jeremy Stephens here. Alright guys, those are my predictions for the Ultimate Fighter 20 finale. I'll have my predictions for the finalists from the show. Check out my predictions for UFC on Fox, Dos Santos versus Miocic. I'll have picks for the next fight night, Machida versus Daly. But thanks for watching guys. Please like the video, comment, subscribe, take care, and I'll see you next time. Bye.